Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. In this tutorial, I want to go over how you can add some realistic fog to your photos inside Photoshop. So I wanted to cover kind of two separate methods. One that's completely native to Photoshop, where we're going to be rendering what's called different clouds, and we're going to be masking those and using them to sort of just place in the fog to where we want it, kind of here in the foreground, maybe here in the side as well. And we have another method that if you want to choose this method, it's using brushes by someone called Care4Art, who makes these amazing brushes. You can check those out in the description and you can go pick those up. I don't think they're too expensive, like 25, 30 bucks around there, but they also work really well if you want some options when you're applying your fog. So let's get started here. I've got this photo that I took in Bali, Indonesia. We've got a mountain up here, and I would like to just add some fog kind of down here, and we already got some fog going in up here with these low rising clouds, but maybe just add a little bit more. So how would we do that? First, we're going to create a layer and just come down here to our new layer, create a blank layer, and we're going to render difference clouds on this layer. Now, you can't render difference clouds on a completely transparent layer, so what we're going to do is just fill this any color. So for the sake of this, we'll use white. So we just grabbed our fill tool, color white, and just clicked. Now, again, any color will work. We're going to come up to filter. We're going to come down to render, and we're going to go to difference clouds. And you'll see right off the bat that it will render out this sort of cloudy black and white pattern here. And what we're going to be doing is manipulating this to make our fog. So we're going to be zooming out, so hold Z and Alt and you can just zoom right out here. We're going to hit Control T to bring up our transform tools on our layer. We're going to right click and go to perspective. And we are going to drag the perspective out pretty far, because this is essentially you want to try and match the perspective of our image. So we're kind of shooting down on the valley here. So we're going to be using a perspective that's relatively far here. And honestly, this is pretty good. So we'll just hit enter. And you can see that we've got our clouds now kind of shaped into perspective. And what we're going to be doing is adding a mask to this. So we're going to come down here and add a clipping mask right here. And what we're going to do is we want this clipping mask to be set to black. So we're going to, with our mask selected, hit Control I. And you'll notice that our layer will actually disappear because we move this to black. Now we're going to go to our brush tool. And we're just going to come up here and select a soft brush. Make it a little smaller. Alright, maybe a little larger than that, and we're going to be reducing our opacity to about 20%. So just hit 2 on your keyboard, or you can come up here to opacity and reduce it manually. And now we're just going to essentially draw in here our difference clouds into the areas that we want it. But while we do that, we're actually going to do something really quickly. First, we're going to come up here to our layer and just change the blending mode to screen. This will just kind of allow the clouds to look a little more natural when you're applying them. And we're just going to kind of paint in where we think this fog should be. So maybe a lot down here, a little bit over here, not too much. I kind of want a little bit of fog in this valley here. So I'm going to do this two ways. We're just going to be applying our layer. So something like this, maybe a little smaller. Just apply a thickness of our layer like so, and then we're going to hit X on our keyboard to make our brush black, hit 0 on our keyboard to bring our opacity to 100%, and we're just going to paint in black here just to remove that layer of fog around these trees, because we don't really want the fog affecting these trees too much. Now you can also come in here with our selection tool if you want something a little bit better. Whoops. Make sure your layer here is selected, your background layer, and then this will actually help us select out these trees here, and we can kind of come in with our brush and just make sure that our mask is a little bit sharper when we're applying here. And we can even come over here and kind of just bring this up, go back to white, back to 30%, and just paint in some clouds along these edges since they are masked out. And we get something that looks a little bit like this. Now I think this is a little bit strong here, so we're just going to reduce the look of that there. And we can, of course, control the opacity of this layer to determine the strength of our fog. But that is pretty much it for the native way of adding some fog to your photos. So you can just toggle this layer on and off and just see what it's doing. But now I'm just going to get into one other way that you can do it. So let's just hide this layer. We're going to come down here, make a new layer. And we're going to come over to our brush tool. Now I've already imported these because I have purchased his brush pack. But if we scroll down, if you don't know how to import, of course, just go to this gear icon, import brushes, and you can find your Atmos brushes that you've saved them to, and we can just scroll down here and grab the fog brush, something like this. Now I find his brushes are absolutely massive, so you can use the bracket keys to kind of reduce the size, and we can kind of just click and get some fog going in here. Maybe you want again, they're massive brushes, so we're just going to reduce the size of this, maybe 40%. We want it kind of doubling up here a little bit, maybe a little on the sides here. And then we're going to go back to our, actually what we're going to do is just add a mask to this. So we're just going to add a mask down here, and we're going to switch up to our black, so make sure our black is selected, and we're just going to paint away, hit 0 on our keyboard, opacity 100%. And we're just going to paint away kind of where the fog normally wouldn't necessarily be. And you can kind of push and pull with his fog brushes to kind of get the effects that you're looking for. Maybe a little bit less strength here. It's a little strong. But that is essentially another way that you could do it using brushes within Photoshop. Now, his brushes are kind of designed for fog and mist and clouds, but if you would like to use the native Photoshop way, you can of course use difference clouds, which I think render in a beautiful result. And you can of course increase the strength or add to it just by adding and subtracting from your mask. So pretty quick tutorial today, guys. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one.